Hello and welcome to Ask the Traffic Commissioner web chat, which is the first of the Freight Transport Association's web chats, today being filmed here at Ascot, following on from the FTA Transport Manager seminar. Now, today has been made possible, I'm delighted to say, thanks to our guest who has taken time out for a busy schedule to be here, Sarah Bell, the Traffic Commissioner for the West of England. Now, to some, the prospect of appearing before a Traffic Commissioner at a public inquiry can be daunting, with TC seemingly distant, perhaps even intimidating figures. But I'm pleased to say that Miss Bell is not only very down-to-earth, but also very normal. Although, in saying that, she has in the past declared her love in life for Harley-Davidsons and Portsmouth Football Club.
I know.
So it might not be quite as normal, but Sarah, welcome.
It is a true love of football if you support Portsmouth Football Club, that's all I can say.
So heading down to Fratton Park on a Saturday must be, I'm sure. You've also been quoted as saying, Sarah, it's not just a job, it's a way of life. So how did you embark on the life as a Traffic Commissioner then, Sarah?
It was something that Beverly Bell said to me when very soon after I was appointed, and I thought, OK, we'll see. But it is because you view everything in a different way. So because of the area I cover and whom I regulate, I could be stood in the local supermarket with drivers, operators. You know, I regulate normal people, and you have to be careful what you say whenever you're in public. I see bad driving like everybody else as I drive around my area, and I use that and what I see and what I hear actually in my speeches.
That's interesting, as you say, it is very much then a way of life for you,
Yes.
7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But in saying that, obviously today you're here at, and thank you very much, at Transport Manager Series for the FTA, and meeting the Transport Manager, some would say that actually it's a job that's quite often overlooked. Would you agree in your role?
What I see at public inquiry is, on occasion, operators who haven't properly understood and embraced the technical expertise that transport managers bring, but also their ability to communicate through the levels. If you think of the transport manager, they have to be able to communicate with the drivers, with the training and support staff, right through potentially for some to board level, and that of itself is a talent. And yes, it's often on occasion, I have seen it, that they are undervalued, but not for long.
Actually, you were talking as well today about the fact that maintenance contractors should be the transport manager's best friend. Why?
Maintenance features heavily in public inquiries. I have estimated 70% for me in the last year. It may even be higher. Now, maintenance contractors tell the transport manager and operators a lot about their vehicles, but also their drivers. So if you have a maintenance contractor who is doing a good and thorough inspection, when they are signing off the certificate of roadworthiness saying this vehicle will be fit for the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the interval is, you know that is the chances of prohibitions at the roadside are going to be reduced. But also if they're doing a thorough inspection, and if there are driver reportable items appearing on the preventative maintenance inspection sheet time after time, that contractor is telling you actually how your drivers are performing, not just how the vehicles are performing.
Now, Sarah, prior to today, we've been inviting FTA members via social media, via email. I know you even had a reminder yourself that you were taking part in this
I did check in the Twitter, and there it was. Oh, yes, Sarah Bell's doing the web chat today. So here I am, absolutely.
And one of those questions has come through saying, in the tough economic times for all the industry, fuel duty is just one cross to bear, which we know is very much the forefront of the freight industry as a whole. But how fair, in your mind, as a traffic commissioner, is financial standing when it comes to passing judgment? Is each case genuinely looked upon in its own merits, is the question.
The one-word answer is yes. The financial standing is of utmost importance. I don't write the legislation, my colleagues don't write the legislation. The legislation says that for a standard licence, financial standing is one of the 3 mandatory criteria. So if the mandatory criteria are not met, I have no discretion. The answer is I can't let the licence continue, or I can't grant a licence. In relation to financial standing and how it is shown, each case is considered on its facts, but we have to act consistently across the areas, the level playing field for operators. So we have the very important statutory guidance and statutory direction on financial standing, which tells operators and those advising them how we look at financial standing. the importance of the readily accessible, the different ways in which it can be shown. So the information is out there, and frankly there's no excuse when they come to public inquiry for not being able to show it in the way in which we need it to be shown. There's upper tribunal case law on financial standing and how that can be put into practice. All the information is out there for them.
We've been asked by one person saying, Driver CPC, myth or legend? And then moving on, realistically, how does Ms Bell see it working in the real world? We understand we've got to abide by the rules and are working towards that September 2014 deadline, but how easy is it going to be to police moving forward, Sarah?
Well, myth or legend, the answer is it's not going away. In relation to policing it, VOSA will be doing that at the roadside, as will the police commercial vehicle units. So obviously it's incumbent upon operators to make sure the drivers, or transport managers to make sure the drivers are carrying their card that confirms they've completed the training. And if they can show that card at the roadside, they have nothing to fear and the operator has nothing to fear. The fact is that if a driver is stopped at the roadside after the deadlines, they don't have the card, they haven't done the training, then that will be a fixed penalty. And not only that, that fixed penalty will be referred to the Traffic Commissioner. The starting point will be a call in for that driver to a driver conduct hearing to look at why the training hasn't been done, and the starting point will be suspending the vocational entitlement until it is done, because the law is the law. If they are driving for an operator, the operator is likely to be called in to find out why they are using drivers that do not meet the CPC qualification. So myth or legend, it's very real, it's not going away. And yes, we have had discussions on how we're going to deal with it, and we're being transparent about it. At the same time, we are acknowledging the very responsible operators who are paying for their drivers' training. And I'm sure that the Advice Centre has been given advice. There are some practical tips and tricks. For example, you can pay for training, but you can have as a contractual term that if they leave within a certain period, they have to pay it back. Or you can have it, over certain periods of time. So if they leave after 1 year, they have to pay for all of it. If they leave after 2 years, they pay for half of it. So there are practical things that can be done. But, the Driver CPC, I just want people to embrace it. Anything that raises standards in the industry's image has got to be a good thing.
Another question that came in on this, and in different guises, but how important do you think that Driver CPC is to not only drivers, freight operators, to the logistics industry as a whole, but also to you as a traffic commissioner doing your job?
Whenever I go out public speaking, I spend my whole time enhancing the image of the industry. I say when I go and speak to non-trade, go and speak to local authorities or interest groups, I say, actually, you should admire the industry. This is not an easy industry to be in. I talk about the financial standing. Most operators only have to show they're solvent, not that they've got X pounds in the bank. So it's all part of enhancing the industry image. Operators know, and freight operators, freight and logistics companies know, that often their vehicle going along the road with their name on the curtain side, their name on the wagon, that is their industry's image. It's their customers and their suppliers that are seeing those wagons on the road. So good driving by a competent, professional driver has got to be a good thing. And as a traffic commissioner, as I say, I don't just see my role as dealing with the bad. I want to help enhance the image of the good.
What can be done to train drivers in load restraint and practical driving rather than theory tests?
There are a lot of driver trainers out there. As we all know, with any industry, there are the very, very good and there are the one or two who are not so good. I can't be seen to be giving advice. They do exist. I would say if you're an FTA member, speak to the Advice Centre, speak to the training teams.
Now, one thing that has been very, very big this year for you as a whole, the Olympics. And I mean, huge success. And I remember actually coming along to a seminar and there was a lot of speculation and dare I say, scepticism as well. People saying, has enough been done by the organisers of the Games to understand the freight? Exactly. And it was just literally everyone thinking, how's it going to actually pan out? And until the event, and it was such a huge event in 2012, until it actually happened, no one knew what was going to happen. But obviously, whatever plans, it worked. I mean, Peter Hendy said as well, freight was the dog that didn't bark, I think is the quote he used to me. True in your mind?
Absolutely. It did work, and you have to congratulate the industry because, they were saying, we haven't got the information. Give us the information, give us what we need, and we'll do the job. And I don't think they ever believed that they would get the information. But they did, and Transport for London and the ODA and the local authorities gave them what they needed. And it was a short, sharp shock, I think, for the press. The reason it worked is Transport for London embraced it. They had a team in place who understood industry. Nobody got into that team, and Ian Wainwright led that team, but nobody got into that team unless they understood the industry. And I think that was key.
A learning curve as well, though, for the freight industry, don't you think? For all of us, everyone had to pull together.
Yes, I mean, the legacy for me is the working together. That if you have willing operators, willing regulators, the help of the trade bodies, who the operators and drivers trust, you have to have the team pulling together, and you have to have the trust. The one thing I think that was key in this to the success and the legacy was no matter who you asked, you got the same answer. There were no tensions. There was no, this is my bit and this is my bit, and I'm keeping here and it's their fault. It's their fault. One message, whatever the scenario, and it worked a treat.
Would you do it again?
Yes. I might need some help with the highlight build. I did go a bit grey on a couple of occasions. And I think what a lot of people forget, they talk about the Olympics, but we talked about the Games. It was very much key that those who are helping in planning it was the Games, because the Paralympics was always going to be a challenge as well. It was a different sort of challenge. And we spent a lot of time during the Games and in the in-between time doing the lessons learnt to make sure that the best practice and the worst outcomes from the Olympics fed into the Paralympics. And to my mind, actually, the Paralympics, for that reason, were actually more of a success.
Today, if there were one message for anybody watching this video, whether they are an operator, a driver, anybody in the freight industry, that comes up time and time and time again, and you think, if I had a penny for every time I've told that piece of advice, whether it be a public inquiry, seminar day, what would it be?
Maintenance is your responsibility. It's not the fitter's fault, it's not the contractor's fault, it's not the mobile mechanic's fault, and it's not the tyre company's fault. The ultimate responsibility is with the operator and the transport manager, and they need to have an inquiring mind at every single piece of paper they look at.
Thank you very much indeed.
Preaching, sorry.
No, thank you. Converted.
Obviously to FTA members.
Absolutely. Sarah Bell, thank you so much.
No, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. I feel quite pioneering.
Good. Well, let's do it again, shall we?
Yes, please.
It's a date.
Thank you.
And thank you. All remains for me, Julie Maddox, to say thank you very much indeed for watching this web chat today. If you'd like more information about the Freight Transport Association, you can log on to the website. It is fta.co.uk.